What's up, everyone? This is J.A. Ragnarsson and Aman El Ramata with you this evening. We're going to talk about some badass shit related to esoteric knowledge, occult, ritual magic. But today, the main topic is going to be meditation practice and techniques, and maybe how that applies to ritual. I don't know where this is going to go. But I'm glad to be on my buddy's channel to talk about this today. So, I just got this book, The Mastery of Self by Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. If you haven't read these books, the Four Agreements, the Fifth Agreement, go check them out by this guy right here. They are amazing books, the Fifth Agreement and the Four Agreements. And I read those and they basically changed my life. And so, this book came out recently and I picked it up. And I want to read you an excerpt from the opening kind of introduction, a message from the publisher, how this book came into being. Now, these were the words inscribed at the entrance of the Temple of Apollo, home of the Oracle of Delphi, arguably the most famous woman in all of ancient Greece. Know thyself. And skip ahead a bit. I often wonder what the world would look like today if some of our modern religions taught that self-knowledge, rather than blind adherence to external guidance and dogma, was the paramount goal of the spiritual path. So, that's our jumping point for tonight. Let's get into it. Know thyself. What does that phrase mean to you, Aman?
To know thyself, it's deeper than knowing what one likes and what when the uninitiated hears it, of course they're going to think, well, I know I like so and so. I might like a certain sports team, or I might like something else. But for me, to know thyself means to know really the truth that lies deep within.
That's great. It's deeper than knowing the ego, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. It's completely opposite. Knowing thyself, and the initiated standpoint is the opposite of the human ego. Knowing your spirit.
That's great. I think it also speaks to knowing how your subconscious mind works, which is very, very difficult to figure out if you're not trying very, very hard. And one of the ways to do that is through meditation, soul travel, astral travel, dream walking, things of that nature, shamanic practices, trance work. And so that's kind of the things we're going to get into. What else does know thyself mean? I mean, it's the two words that were on the temple, okay, where the Oracle of Delphi resided. And people would travel for hundreds of miles to see this woman, to come to this temple. And the two words that she chose that would be remembered by everyone who came on this pilgrimage was know thyself. It's obviously very important, and it's something that gets tossed around a lot in the occult world that I don't think people really know what it means. It's not like knowing what you're like, what your habits are, what your likes and dislikes are. It's more than just kind of understanding yourself on an esoteric external level. It's looking deep within. It's getting in touch with your shadow self.
Knowing the God within.
Knowing the God within. That's fucking beautiful. Wow. So, as we mentioned, one of the ways to get in touch with these deeper aspects of yourself, even the parts of you that you don't like, that you repress and suppress, your shadow self, according to Carl Jung, these things need to be explored and addressed, and we don't need to continue repressing them because they manifest in all kinds of ways. Emotional blockages, and we tend to project these things onto others. The shadow self, we tend to project the things that we repress within ourselves. We tend to project those onto others, and kind of view them in ways that they're really not. And so that's why we need to know thyself, so that we can understand these things, the inner workings of our soul, the deep inner workings of our subconscious mind. So again, one of the first steps in knowing thyself is meditation. Now, Amon, how do you meditate?
Meditation. Well, there's different techniques, but I believe I speak for both of us whenever I say for me, for us, meditation, the process of it, learning how to get to do it is essentially you relax. Some people say you have to sit up. A lot of gurus and especially in the Eastern religions talk about sitting up and in certain poses, which is true.
And why is that?
Because it registers. Well, it has a lot to do with the Kundalini,
Okay.
With the river of light that flows from the crown.
So kind of straightening your spine out opens up the energy flow in your body, that kind
Yes,
of thing.
yes, exactly. And but for me, I learned a lot of different ways. As you know, I learned different ways to do it. I learned how to meditate laying down.
And the danger with that is falling asleep too. Again,
Exactly.
with laying down, you get into a deep relaxed state, and you could fall asleep if you're meditating lying down without a lot of practice and extreme focus.
Yes.
So
Essentially, I started learning to. At first, I started the way I initiated the actual switching into the next theta state was to breathing exercises.
okay,
Learning maybe 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. When I first started meditating, I started seeing a substantial difference in the way I felt spiritually, and it was like my spirit was finally becoming. You could feel it becoming grounded to your physical self
okay,
because you started feeling relaxed. Um, at that point, the focus starts. It depends on what you're meditating on. Essentially, you want to meditate on nothing because that's what we're looking for is divine nothingness. And I would fall asleep. I'm sorry, I would fall into a trance, and I would through the breathing and through the counting. I don't know what it is with the counting, but it does something. I guess it's the focus, and it would, like I said, it would ground together, and I would start feeling the breathing would come natural, and then you would feel I would feel a lot of energy focus right here, right in the center of my forehead, almost right here, about right here, third eye, pineal, whatever you want to call it. And I would focus on that, and you could feel the energy focus. And I started learning, different techniques, and but all the techniques all essentially were the same. Was to focus on your third eye, and essentially, I guess after practice, it became kind of natural. At first, it seemed like maybe 30 minutes to an hour to get into that. And it takes a lot of self-discipline to be able to fall into that type of state or to allow yourself to be in that type of consciousness. And essentially, it started just happening, as you know, like automatic almost, like automatic. As soon as you ready,
right,
boom, boom, there it is.
right. And I've noticed lately that I can enter theta brainwave states at will. I can sit down and I can say, okay, I'm going to meditate and I'm going to enter trance and do some work in that state, perhaps in evocation or spell work. You need to be in that brainwave state.
Yes.
And I found that through practicing over long periods of time, I've just gotten to the point that I can enter trance like that, just at will. But at first, it wasn't like that. It was very difficult, and it's very difficult to explain to someone how to do this. There's lots and lots and lots of books out there on meditation, but I don't think they really can be taught in a book. It's something that just has to come through experimentation. Now, you can learn the techniques from the books and you can hear what other people say, but you have to find what works for you. And what works for me may not work for you. I use a variety of techniques, and when I first started, breathing techniques was what I learned with also pranayama. And there's different ones like breath of fire and breathing into the chakras, crown, third eye, throat, heart, solar plexus, sacral, and the root chakra. And there are other chakras, but those are the 7 main ones that we know of.
Yes.
Um,
I started like, I'm sorry, but
Go ahead.
I began. One of my starters was this visualization technique, which is what meditation is. It's essentially the mind's eye, or the eye of the mind, is the eye imagination. And people will sit there and tell you that the imagination is followed, but the imagination is actually where a lot of the manifestation process and a lot of the power of meditation comes from. You imagine things. Okay, so one of my first ones was this. It was a solar technique. It was called a solar technique or something like that. And it was like I would visualize like a small sun, like the size of my fist maybe, and it would just appear, and it would come into my it would start off coming.
So are you doing this with eyes closed or open?
Oh, eyes closed. Definitely
Okay.
eyes closed, because it's all about your imagination and picturing.
Yeah.
You're picturing all this in your imagination. So you're picturing a little sun, like the size of your fist, entering into your heart, and then flowing up your kundalini, and going into the next chakra. So it goes to the heart. So then it go from the heart, it go to the throat, and then to the eye, to the crown, come out, and then come back down, and then make a triangle. And it was like like you're burning away all the negative trash and debris that had been clogging up that river of light, damming up that river of light, not allowing the light to go all the way to do what it needed to do, to flow properly. And that became really powerful for me, and that was considered a beginner's technique. So then I started doing, more, and it started like, it started taking longer. It essentially started taking like 2 or 3 hours to meditate, but it didn't seem like it was taking that long. And whenever you would essentially enter a trance state, and that's why it didn't seem like it's because in trance state, 5 minutes in your trance is like 5 hours in this dimension, in the third dimension. You know what I mean? So that's a lot how I began.
Yeah, the reason for that is because you have two minds. You have your conscious and your subconscious. And the conscious mind relates everything to time, space. And your subconscious doesn't understand those things at all. It has no understanding of time. And when you enter trance, you drop your conscious mind out of the way. It becomes sort of overwhelmed with stimulus, is one way of doing that. And another way is hyperfocus, to the point at which you're focused solely on one thing, the breath or your visualization, things like that. And the conscious mind kind of stops working, stops doing its thing, and the subconscious steps in. And in that state of total connection to the subconscious, total attunement to the subconscious, which is essentially your connection to the divine, time seems to not matter. It doesn't exist. You forget about time entirely. You become lost in this state. And an hour can seem like 10 minutes in this state. So go
on. Yeah, because time is essentially nothing but a means for human measurement, and the spirit knows no time. The spirit knows no time. Only the human ego knows time. That's why when we feel like we're running late, or I have to get this done by then, or I don't have time to do this and this and that. But the spirit has nothing but time. Spirit has nothing but time. So, as I progressed, it started getting more powerful for me. I started actually going into a trance state. I won't say automatically, because that actually recently started for me. Like really recently, just as he was saying, started going into a trance state automatically. It happened the other day, and I thought I was, at first I didn't know what was going on. I was like, wow, what just happened? But I allowed myself to stay in it. And I was like, because I felt beautiful. I was like, man, this is beautiful. How am I in this state right now? That was what my egotistical self was saying, like, how is this happening? And then essentially I just kind of let it go. And so I started finding myself, and then it just so happened he had messaged me and was like, hey, I'm finding that I can do this. And I was like, wow, me too. But I started essentially, as soon as I I was posing from meditation, as soon as I automatically felt the energy in my mind, in my heart, and I could automatically feel the flow. So in probably about 10 to 20 minutes, I would go into maybe go into a trance state, or maybe slowly get to the trance state. But what would happen after that was, and this is what has led me here, was maybe the next day, sometimes 2 or 3 days. It seems as things comes into three sometimes, and man, sometimes, like I said, sometimes the next day, maybe sometimes 2 or 3 days later, I would be hit with these epiphanies. And these epiphanies are they're not just they're not they're not I mean it's the infinite intelligence relaying messages back to you, back to your the human mind. The human brain is a receiving tower for the infinite intelligence, which is the main satellite. And as you're focusing within, you're listening to the best example is when you pray, you speak to the Creator, but when you meditate, you listen. And so I began just having these epiphanies where the infinite intelligence of the universe was giving me knowledge, giving me information, and I'd be like, where is this coming from? Not only that, I was into writing, and I would just write these poems and just things like that, and just be unbelievable. I had to go back and read it and be like, wow, how in the world did I write this? And but also not just that, just ideas about the mysteries of the universe. And then maybe 2 or 3 days later, something I might hear on the radio, something I might see on TV, or a book might come my way that verified the exact message that I was given. The exact epiphany that had popped in my mind was verified by a message later on. And it would blow my mind. And I'd be like, wow, now I know this is real. Because now I know I was just been, an idea popped in my mind. 3 days later, something else pops up that backs up that idea. And that's when I started realizing the power of meditation. I started realizing that this is what people call God speaking directly to me through my mind, through the seat of God, through where the face of God, the mouth of God, the pineal, which is what pineal means, is the face of God. If you read in Genesis, you read about Jacob. This is something that happened for meditation. I decided one day, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start reading the Bible all the way over again. I had quit believing a lot of it for face value, the literal translation already. And said, well, I'm going to go back through it and see if I can find what knowledge I could find, so on and so forth. So, especially in the book of Genesis, it's just filled, because the book of Genesis is like a chronology. It's like a chronology of all the sacred books from the beginnings of all these different cultures, kind of put into one. And
Egyptian Book of the Dead, Enuma Elish,
yes,
things like that.
Yeah, and I started reading about Jacob, and Jacob had already had his vision with he'd already had his vision where he fell asleep on what they called Jacob's pillow, and he had seen the angels descending and ascending off the throne, which has many different. You got the so much esoteric value to it. You have the symbolism, you have the allegory, and you have the metaphor. And well, the following story, him and his family go along the Jabbok River, and he sends his family along so he can meditate. It don't say that, but that's what he's doing, so he can listen to God. And he sets up a little fort, I guess, on the Jabbok River. And when he does, he wrestles with a man, which is his higher self. They call him a man, they call him an angel, and they call him the Lord. And that's how crazy the Bible is. It contradicts itself in like two verses. It will contradict itself 4 times. So they call him a man, an angel, and God, but it's his higher self, and he's fighting with himself, and he's having communion with his higher self, or God, and he gets the blessing. And when it's all said and done, he says that he's going to name this place Peniel, for he has seen the face of God. And then I looked it up, in science, as science and religion are they're actually one and the same, but the society will teach you that they're separate. But in science, the center of your brain, the gland in the very middle of your brain, is called the pineal gland, and that means the face of God. And when I seen that and I learned that, and there was nobody in this realm that told me that, and that was one of the first things I had learned, and it blew me away. And I knew right then and there that this was real and that this was communion with the higher power. And from there, it just got bigger and better, and I started to transform my life physically, mentally, emotionally, and to attune those three things. And so, go ahead.
And meditation is actually mentioned by name in the Bible all throughout. There's a passage that says Isaac went out into a field to meditate.
Yes.
It's not a secret. It's not something you have to discern from it. It's written plainly. However, the situation with Jacob, you have to kind of deduce what's happening. And you see the pineal gland mentioned right there in a metaphor, which is where he experienced the Jacob's ladder thing, which is a spiral staircase, kind of similar to the DNA of man, perhaps. It has all kinds of symbolism. It references the Kundalini, raising from the base of the spine all the way to the crown. But anyway, there are various methods of meditation. Back to where we were starting from. One method that I've heard that can be pretty useful is visualizing a river. Just sit with your eyes closed in lotus position, legs crossed, hands on your knees, back straight. And you could start by focusing on your breathing. Just breathe in, breathe out, breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth 10 times. And once you've kind of relaxed yourself, begin to visualize and picture a river flowing by. And all of the thoughts that come into your mind, just allow them to go into the river and float away. Don't judge them. Don't attach to them. You can acknowledge them long enough to send them down the river. And just continue this visualization, and it helps you to learn to kind of master your thoughts and decide that I'm going to focus on my visualization and I'm going to allow the rest of these thoughts to drift away. You don't have to attach them. It's a great way to learn not to attach to your thoughts, not to judge them as good or bad, because that doesn't exist. Another method is, again, the visualization of the miniature sun. And I also like to sit and meditate facing the sun during the daytime.
Oh, yeah.
And you can see an image of the sun with your eyes closed, and just imagine light coming from the sun into your chakras. Start at crown or start at base. It doesn't matter where you start, but go maybe 10 breaths in each chakra or something like that. Visualizing the breath coming into that part of your body in and releasing back to the sun with the out breath. And just go on. And this is a great visualization. And why is it important to use these visualizations of light and things like that? Because thoughts are things. Your imagination is one of the most powerful tools you have. Thoughts are things in the astral realm, in the spiritual realm. All is mind. It's the first Hermetic principle, the law of mentalism, or the principle of mentalism. And we'll probably get into why thoughts are things later on. But for the sake of this video, we're just going to mention it and move on from it. So you can, and when you get into pranayama, there are various breathing techniques, rapid breathing, like almost hyperventilating. This is a great tool to get into trance states. Mantras is another great one. Pick a word or phrase that resonates with you, like I am, or maybe a favorite deity of yours, or a phrase like light of God, Holy Spirit, Thor, Odin, just any deity that you resonate with, even Lucifer, Azazel, beings like that. Just repeat the name of them, Amon Ra, and just allow that to be the focus of your meditation as you're breathing in and breathing out. Become aware of your breathing at the same time. Just pick something that you're going to focus on and allow your thoughts that come up to just kind of say, okay, I acknowledge that thought. I don't decide whether it's good or bad. Just let it go and get back to your meditation object. And in doing this, you learn focus, you learn concentration, you learn relaxation, you learn to master your thoughts. And when you enter into the trance state, which is the ultimate end of this, you will get in touch with the divine. And you will have these epiphanies that Amon mentioned. And you will start to learn things about yourself. These kind of thoughts that come up as you're in trance. You need to take note of these much more so than the thoughts that come up before you enter trance. Because the thoughts that come up when you enter trance are quite significant thoughts. They can be messages from the divine, from deities, from the all itself, from your subconscious, from your higher self, any of these things. Also, they can be kind of darts that come from negative entities. And you can become aware of kind of issues that you have, deep-rooted issues, possibly strongholds that are there from these negative entities. Maybe entities that have attached themselves to you and that you need to deal with by other means. Banishing, cleansing, uncrossing rituals, something of that nature. And I don't know, man. That's kind of a whole other video of dealing with those kind of things.
Yeah. There's so many different branches off of this subject that we could go into. It's like I kind of got off subject there. We're just kind of talking about methods of meditation, man. And it's such a beautiful subject because
it was great though.
Essentially, it's one of the many little things that I have started that really changed my life and got me to where I am now, got you to where you are now, and it's something that I can never, like I told you today, I had this textbook at one time. I want to say it was either a college or it was, I don't think it was high school. I want to say it was college. It was a college textbook on psychology, which happens to be what I'm majoring in now, and it really dumbed down the power of meditation, and it was offensive to me really because I know it's not right, and it really took away the divine aspect of it. It took away the life-changing aspect of it. All it did was say it's a very good way to relax. And that's essentially what it was.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a very good way to relax, and that's it. That's all it really told you. And it really irritated me to see that.
That's insane.
Yeah, a college course would tell you would take away something so powerful.
I guess that's the agenda of the education system.
Oh, it's got to be. It's what it is, and like especially something that's been taught since the beginning of time registered on this realm anyway. It's been taught in every aspect in every culture, in every holy book, in everything. I mean, look at the very beginning of whenever you read about Muhammad in the Quran. The very beginning is an introduction of what happened with Muhammad when he went into the cave. It didn't say he went to the cave to pray. It specifically says that Muhammad went to a cave to meditate. And Gabriel came to him and gave him divine message. And Muhammad was not an educated man, and there was no way for him to know the thing. He didn't even know how to write, and he didn't know how to read. And he was reciting and writing things that there's no way he would have known. And it was divine message from the Archangel Gabriel. And I mean, so just every culture in every aspect.
What do you think Christ did in the wilderness for 40 days?
Clear as day.
What do you think Moses did on the mountain?
Exactly.
We
can go into this for every patriarch, every important person in the history of man who was spiritual.
Every master, every spiritual guru,
everyone of
the Buddha, the shamans and sorcerers and spiritualists of every culture. Eastern, Western, Northern, Southern, they all meditated, and they all were masters of the meditative arts. And wow, just a good way to relax. That's it.
Yeah, it's a real good way to relax and get things off your mind.
One of the Vedic principles of meditation, or kind of a Hindu concept of it, is that when you enter these deep meditative states, you kind of tap into a state of bliss. And I myself have experienced that bliss, and it can be an addictive thing to kind of want to stay in that state once you learn to reach it. And at first, when you reach it, it kind of is such a shock that it can pull you out of it. Your awareness, kind of like your conscious mind, comes back up, and he's like, "Wow, what is this? This is great." And that alone can pull you out of it, and you'll learn to kind of just let it be what it is, and be in the moment of that bliss. And it's the same with like when you take this into evocation and spirit communication. When that spiritual energy shows up after you've meditated on the sigil and the energy of that being, it can be like, oh my God, it's here. He's here, and it can pull you out of it.
Yeah.
And you'll have to learn to go in and out of trance. And the same with kind of asking your questions or reading your contracts or your pacts or whatever, making your statements and your requests and prayers. You'll need to come back into conscious awareness to do these things, and then you'll need to go back into trance to receive your answers. So you'll need to learn to practice dropping in and out of trance at will.
Yeah.
But eventually you'll get there and you'll master this thing if you just stick with it, and the benefits are almost endless.
I tell you, one of the most addictive things that I had with meditation was meditating with my buddy J.A. here. And we had another buddy of ours, we'll call him Judge. That's his alias. And we would work out and so on and so forth. And we all had this day where a certain time of the day, if we were lucky enough to experience it, and sit in front of the sun in the lotus position, all three of us, and where two or three gather, the light is in our midst, and that's what would happen. And I had some of the most powerful meditations I had were like that, were with group meditation.
Yeah, it's almost like three batteries joining together and multiplying that. It becomes exponential, the energy that's produced in that setting.
Yeah. Imagine like a source of light or a beam of light coming from up in the sky, and it comes down and it splits into a pyramid, and then it splits into three more beams. You got one here, and one here, or you got two, whatever. It's still a pyramid, man. And it's just a constant beam of light and energy that and everybody kind of connects and becomes one. And that's kind of how mine and his brotherhood began, and real true brotherhood began spiritually. And
that's a great concept too, is of becoming aware of the oneness of all things, and that happens through meditation as well.
Yeah.
And when I began this meditative practice way back when, I would kind of feel the energy of the earth itself, and I would connect with the birds and the animals that would be nearby, and it kind of made me a lot gentler. I won't kill things just to kill them. I used to be big into hunting, and it's just not something I'm interested in anymore. I would kill to eat and survive, and I'll kill to protect myself. But other than that, I won't kill like a snake if it's not harming me. So
yeah, we're not going to go out in Africa and shoot us a lion. That's fucked up. Like I see these people, these trophy hunters. Back in the day when I was colorized and fucked off, I'll say, excuse my language, but I used to think it was cool, big ass lion or some shit. Like you go to these people that go trophy hunting in Africa and they got these fucking zebras and shit. I mean, goddamn, there's nothing you can get from these things, and these people are just like killing them and these are creations. The breath of life flows through these creatures just as much as it does through us. And I get whenever you become enlightened and you start experiencing oneness, atonement, at one-ment, you really connect with every living thing. even the blades of grass. There was a time where I was like, man, I don't even know if I'll be able to mow because I don't want to cut the grass, but that's just too much, But I mean, it's become so beautiful, and it's such a state of it's just such a state of bliss, like he said, it's a state of bliss, and but
and to describe that, picture the tree of life in Kabbalah. Okay, and you picture God in the universe as this tree, and to explain how everything is God and God is everything, you are not the tree itself. You are maybe a branch or a leaf of the tree. And to say that you yourself are the all in totality, that you are God, that you are the one and only God, is not what we're trying to say. What we're trying to say is that we are all part of that divine everything, that divine all. So, yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Oh, no, that's fine, man. Like I said, everything we say is what is we feel is we're motivated to say is because the universe is pushing us to say it. And meditation, there's nothing negative I can say about it. There's nothing. I get offended when anybody has anything to say negative about it, which really nobody really ever does. They kind of look at you like they don't know what the hell you're talking about because they've been trained to think a certain way. They've been trained to that you can pray and praying and this and that. Prayer is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, but it's only half, or it's only half of the communion between you and the infinite intelligence.
And besides that, they don't know how to do it correctly.
Yeah, they don't even know how to do it. They don't even know what the word amen means, or amen, or amen. They don't know what that means. So it's just.
So you're praying, and that's all you're doing, and you don't even know how to do that.
Yeah, so.
This is all part of the path, is learning how to pray correctly, learning how to meditate, and to have a two-way communication between yourself and the divine, to manifest the reality that you desire, and to take part in your own spiritual transformation from within to without. As above, so below. As within, so without. Well, I think we're coming to the end of this thing.
That's a good way to end it. Yeah, that's going to be it for us for right now. But like I said, subscribe. Let us know what you think. We're here to pass along knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Anybody can have knowledge, but you have to learn from it, and that's wisdom. And even if you learn from it, you have to understand. I'm Elman El Ramada.
J.A. Ragnarsson.
This is it. Signing off. We'll see you soon.
Till next time.